noise!
Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. Brought to you by FunkinStuff.net, this is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, musicologist, creative arts journalist, and multimedia pro. Whether you're watching the video version of this show or the audio-only podcast version, I thank you so much for your continued interest and support in this show. If you enjoy this programming, there are several ways to help support Truth and Rhythm, as well as contribute to further enhancements and expansion, plus get some sweet perks and rewards in the process. First, subscribe to the Funkin' Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Second, join Truth and Rhythm's new membership program through Patreon, which features 3 tiers for truth believers, truth seekers, and truth crusaders. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at FunkinStuff.net. At that site, which is loaded with awesome content, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funkin' Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. Sponsorship opportunities are available as well. Contact me directly at scottg@funkinstuff.net. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funkin' Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funkin' Stuff store. I'm delighted to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership bassist and singer Harry Johnson, also known as Barry's son John. During the 1970s and 1980s, he was a member of groups spanning funk, jazz, R&B, and progressive rock, such as Nova, Lenny White's 29, and Don Blackman's Family Tradition. The latter two included the funk classics Peanut Butter, Kid Stuff, and You Ain't Hip. He also appeared on Wright's Nard, Cameo's Single Life, and Atlantic Starr's As the Band Turns albums, and later toured with Jeffrey Osborne and Chic. Along the way, he also recorded with Robert Palmer and saxophonists Kenny G and Najee. Barry, welcome. Hey. How are you?
I was good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to be seen.
Where are you today?
I am at home. in Jamaica, Queens. I still live in Jamaica.
All right.
My wife went out, and I'm just sitting here in the porch talking to you.
Wow. Well, is that still a musical hotbed there? Because, I mean, what a history.
Yeah, the whole world's changed in the last couple of months. Everything kind of shut down, but it's coming back slowly. The guys who are still here are, they're in it for the long haul. So it's going to be coming back. But it's not the same. It's not the same. Not at all.
Yeah, I told Tom Brown when he was on this show, back in '78 or whenever it was that Funkin' for Jamaica came out, maybe it was a little later in that '79 but I thought at first, I was from California, never been to New York at that point, and I thought it was Jamaica, not New York. So
Funkin' for Jamaica.
Yeah.
Island.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's a lot funkier than reggae I've heard before.
Different kind of funk.
Yeah. So, but I've come to learn it's
Sir.
yeah,
Jamaica Queens. Funkin' for Jamaica Queens.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, there's a rich history here in Jamaica Queens. You know, we had this area called Adelaide Park, and the generation that came before us were like the R&B guys and the jazz guys. You know, you had like groups like the Teenagers and Frankie Lyman and those guys who were like stars in the 50s. Then you had the jazz cast like John Coltrane, and you had Louis Armstrong, James Brown. They all had houses like 3-5 minutes from here. So we used to go to James Brown's house, and he had a moat. We would look over the fence and see if he had an alligator in the moat. And, you know, it was like we used to go to Ella Fitzgerald's house. We used to go to Lena Horne's house. Count Basie had a house. He had a pool in the back. It was surreal. My first drummer in my first band was Brooke Benton's son, Brooke Benton Jr. So we used to, I'm talking about 7th grade, 8th grade when I started playing. And we would go to Brooke Benton's house. Brooke Benton was like an official Rat Pack guy. He had a white grand piano in the living room and pictures of him, Sammy, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra on the piano. So this is my first introduction to like, wow, I mean, right here in the hood. I mean, they have this whole section at Adelaide Park, which was kind of like our little Hollywood. And it's still there today. It still stands there today. It's a little section in the middle. And Babe Ruth lived out here for a while, and he came down here, and John Coltrane. I mean, it goes on and on. So many jazz cats moved from Harlem to here in Queens, the so-called suburbs, you know. So
Wow.
we grew up kind of like in that shadow. And I remember us playing music, and she would call Brooks Benton's wife and say, "Come look at the kids play. Watch the kids play." And he'd come downstairs in his robe and slippers. Brooke Benton, you know, raining night in Georgia. And he'd look at us and go like, "You remember Lurch? Remember Lurch in the Addams Family?"
Yeah.
He'd go like, ugh. He was a grouchy old dude, but it was Brooke Benton, who, you know, we didn't know nothing. So we were playing music, and he kind of like came down to give us some inspiration. But that's how I started, you know, just playing in the basements. Out here in Queens, we got basements all over the place, more so than Brooklyn. So we had a lot of basement bands, not garage bands, basement bands. And I think that was what led to all the musicians in Queens. We had like basements, so you could rehearse on a Saturday. You could rehearse with your band, and you know, it sure kept me out of trouble. I spent so much time in the basement learning how to play and sing and do stuff that I didn't have time to get in trouble. So we had our own little musical gang, and you didn't cross lines. My band was 5 Carat Soul. Winky's band, Winky was over there with the Firebolts. You had maybe 20 bands in this neighborhood, and you didn't cross lines. But I was one of the first guys to cross lines because, you know, the other bands had gigs. I could go at 18 and go and make $150 on the weekend. 3 gigs, 50 cents a piece. Are you kidding me? $50 a piece. So I would go over there and play with them. I would play with here, play with them, but it constantly kept me occupied a lot, out of trouble, and learn how to play. And you know, ended up going for 40 years, 50 years going by. Here we are.
Well, what a foundation and environment. What drew you to the bass specifically?
Well, I was actually a singer first. I was singing first. I went to a private school, and the guitar player says we're playing like we're doing like Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and James Brown song. He goes, "You should play bass, because that way, you know, we can have a bass player and you can sing at the same time." Well, I was stupid to know that it's difficult to sing and play at the same time, so I just did it. A lot of guys can't do that, and they ask me today, "How the hell do you do that?" And they go, "I don't know. I didn't even know that it was supposed to be hard, so I just did it." A lot of those records you mentioned, I do the vocals for a lot of that stuff. For all of Lenny White's albums, I do the lead vocals on you know, Peanut Butter. Me and Don Blackman do all the vocals on Peanut Butter, Best of Friends, all that stuff. I did the vocals on 3 albums for him, and I did the vocals for Kenny G. We had a song called "Hi, How You Doing?" Kenny G's first hit record was my voice. And, you know, I'm one of those unsung guys that you know, oh, this is the same guy who's singing, you know. And with Lenny White, I did most of the vocals. Jeffrey Osborne let me do some duets with him. I did some duets with Jennifer Holiday. So I've always been a singer bass player. I love playing bass, but I consider myself a singer bass player.
Okay.
You know, and it's kind of gotten in the way. The bass has been kind of like there, but it's kind of like it's gotten in the way because I'm playing. They hire me to play, and then I want to sing, and then I want to sing, and then people go, "You should be singing more." So it's just been a long battle with that whole identity thing, you know. But
you got to look at somebody like Larry Graham, though. You know, I mean.
Absolutely. But you know, only a few get through. You got Larry Graham. You got Sting. You got who else?
Paul McCartney.
Huh?
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney. Exactly. So I kind of saw myself as that, you know. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that I did most of the vocals and that stuff, you know. So I did the vocal with Lisa Fisher. I did a hit record with Lisa Fisher called "Love You Madly" under the group title name Candela on Arista Records, and I did a lot of stuff for Arista Records, and
well, I'm going to take you through some of that in more detail, but you know, I wanted to also know, Barry, aside from your environment in Queens, who were some of your biggest musical influences, you know, as you were you know, in your teens and getting into music?
You said all the Motown stuff, seeing Jackson 5 on Ed Sullivan, seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, seeing I mean, the Motown stuff, the James Jamerson. I didn't realize that there was one guy playing all these bass lines, and it was really too much for me in the beginning. I was way ahead because he was a jazz cat, so he was playing stuff that I just couldn't. It just went over my head. But eventually, as I got older, I started listening to him, and like, this man was pure genius. You had the lead vocals, whether it was you know, whoever it was, Marvin Gaye or whoever, Mary Wells, and you had his bass line under it, and he's just doing counter-punctual melodies that go right with it perfectly. I mean, just the man was completely unsung, unappreciated, and just the genius behind that rhythm section. And unfortunately, he died broke and drunk and unappreciated. But he was one of my influences as I got older. Of course, Larry Graham. I had a chance to see Larry Graham. He came to my college. That was it. I started thumping pretty much before everybody in my neighborhood, before Marcus Miller, before different guys in the neighborhood. And in fact, one time somebody told me that Marcus had come to one of my gigs and saw me doing that. He was like, "What is he doing?" Now he's the thump kid. You know, he does everything with his stuff. But I'm like maybe 4 years older than Marcus, so he was right behind. So he would come up. But boy, did he soak it in, take it in, and take it to the next level. I really respect his musicianship. And he's a good guy, too. He never really tripped. You know, a great producer, great musician. He went to music and art. And I basically went to, you know, I went to Queens College for music, but I only went like 2 years, and then I went with Nova. I left to go to Europe to play with Nova to make some albums, you know, with Nard and Michael Walden. That was Nard's first production.
How did you connect with Nova?
Well, Nova was like I was in the basement playing with the Firebolts, local band here, you know, Winky Flight. Did you know Winky? That was his band. He was the guy on Puppet But Jamaica, you know, that 106th Street Mall, Tom Brown. He's a funny guy. That's Winky. He was in a band called the Firebolts. Like I said, they was gigging on weekends, so I could make $150 on the weekend. So I was gigging with them. We was rehearsing. Narda was playing with the Mob Beach Orchestra, and he was living up in Jamaica Estates. And the drummer said, "Hey, this is Narda Michael Walden." "Who? What? Plays with Mob Beach, taking the place of Billy Cobbett." So we jamming, you know, we in the basement jamming. I'm jamming with Narda. So we did it a couple of times. He said, "Hey, would you like to go to London? Would you like to go to Europe?" I was like, "Tell me more," you know. So it was Nova. He was doing his first production, and it was a group called Nova, a fusion group called Nova. And I was.
And you were about how old? How old were you at that time?
I was like 21.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2021. And then I went there to record with them. Nard produced it. Then the group moved to Boulder, Colorado. And then we did some little touring. Then we toured in Europe, all through Europe. And and then they broke up. And then I came back to the States, and then I got the gig with Lenny White in '29.
So wait, the first Nova album though was '77. So for people who aren't familiar with them, they were sort of a fusion thing. And how did that differ from what you had been playing and what you had wanted to play?
Well, I was pretty much on the fusion thing at that point. I had been playing all the R&B stuff and all the funk stuff, but I had been into the Stanley Clarke stuff and Chick Corea and all those guys, and my band had been experimenting with playing that stuff. People would look at us like we're crazy, somebody's dick, but we would incorporate some of the funky stuff from the fusion stuff into our, into what we were doing. And so I was totally aware of it, and I started to get to the jazz thing more. And so, it wasn't too far of a stretch because I was still playing and singing, and they wanted me to kind of give them a little soul to it, to make it less, strict and, anal. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like tight name or so. So Nard said, do your thing, just go ahead and, sing. He wanted me to sing, and I wrote a couple of tunes on there, and it changed what they were doing, but, they liked the direction it was going in,
You did two albums with them, right?
Three.
Yeah. And did they achieve the kind of success they had hoped to? I mean, what were their aspirations?
No. The manager kind of did some things that kind of hurt the band, and so then they disbanded. So they didn't get a chance to. It was all there. I mean, we had the backing, we had the management, but the management kind of had a different vision, and that goes. So the leaders of the band, who was Corrado Rustici and Elio Diana, 3 Italians from Italy, and one English guy, Rick Parnell on drums, and then me from Jamaica, Queens. It was kind of a diverse thing. It was interesting. And I had lived with 3 Italians, eating gnocchi and bread and cheese and, drinking wine. It was a very enlightening experience,
What was it like for you when you first, how big were some of the audiences you did with them?
Well, when we were in Boulder, Colorado, we did like local clubs. In fact, we had done a thing with, we played at a club where Donny Hathaway played. I had a chance to meet him there. And we would just do a small club trying to get the band going, get the act going, get the stuff going. But then when we went back to Europe, then we toured with this group a better known group called Caravan. And we toured all through Scotland, Leeds, all through England. And that was the biggest tour we had done. We didn't play that much in the States after that, but we recorded. So we did 3 albums together. I think they had 2 before me.
Did you guys also do some covers on the live shows, or only the original?
No, it was all straight our music, yeah.
So what was your impression of when you first met Nard?
Nard was like nobody you ever met. He was the most positive guy, the most happy guy, the most spiritual guy. He was a disciple of Sri Chinmoy at the time. So he was really, imbued with this spirit of music and consciousness and meditation, and, it was deep. But he was a great guy, and he still is to this day.
Yeah, very energetic and positive, and
very energetic, very talented, just overly talented. It just seeps out of him. Great drummer too. My gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that got pushed to the back burner with all his production and everything, but he could play.
Sure. Well, that didn't hurt his pocket though.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guy.
So what transpired after Nova broke up? What happened with you?
After Nova broke up, I got married and had 2 kids and tried to juggle between fatherhood and career drive, and I juggled that for quite some time, as long as I could, about 15 years. Then I did, during that period, I recorded the Don Blackman album. I played with Tom Brown. We played at this club in Manhattan, in the Village. It's escaping right now, but that was before Funky for Jamaica.
Well, let me talk to you a little bit about Don Blackman. So,
okay.
Unfortunately, he's not around to do this show. So, what can you tell funk fans and music fans in general about his talent and what he was like as a guy?
Don Blackman was the most incredible human being I had ever met in the flesh. He's kind of like, you take George Duke, Herbie Hancock, Joe Sample, I mean, all the famous keyboard guys, you know, John Coltrane. He was just a natural, gifted talent. Could hear anything. He could fart, and he could tell you what key it is. One time I tested him, I put my hand on the piano, just, and he told me every note, top to bottom. Perfect pitch, which sometimes makes you a little nuts, right? But I wouldn't want it for the world. I'll take a relative pitch any day, because you hear everything. And so he was a comedian. He would make you laugh until you peed your pants. Literally, I've seen him do that. I've seen him make a girl pee her pants. Funny man, always found the funny. It was more important for him to find the funny than anything else. He was brave, sometimes obnoxious, looking for the funny. Didn't work all the time, but we consider ourselves brothers. You know, speaking of him, they used to call us the Sumo Brothers. Okay, I used to have my hair in dreads like that, and he was Hundro, for 100 head, and I was Sumo. And we used to do stuff, man. We used to do crazy stuff in the airports, and just have fun, man. When we did the album, oh my gosh, when we did the album, it was like a big party, balloons and marijuana, and just having a good time in Manhattan. It was just, we were young and just crazy, and life was good, and we were recording, and this album reflects it. Everything on this album, he knew what he wanted. That's his cousin Desiree, and that's Sherry Snyder. He had his little crew, and he was a Virgo, so he was a perfectionist. So you mix perfect pitch with a perfectionist, you know, kind of much for one person to deal with.
Yeah, but it came through that record as a classic, in my opinion, and for early '80s especially, it was one of the last great complete funk albums. You know,
that's true. And when it came out, a lot of people didn't get it. It was like, I don't get it. I don't understand, because we went from funk stuff to ballad stuff. Donald was an amazing ballad writer. Okay, and so, but those are the two things. He was totally into the funkadelic stuff, totally into the ballads, because he comes from the church guy. Grew up in the church. His church was across the street from his house, so he grew up playing organ in the church. So, you know, it was like, yeah, that was Donald Blackman, but a lot of people didn't get it in the beginning. But as it's gotten older, I've heard that from around the world. I've been in different parts of the world, and you know, you are the guy on the Donald Blackman album. Wow. I had no idea, and they're looking at me with reverence, like, well, that was him. I mean, I played every line he wanted me to play. It wasn't me. You know, I said, but no, you nailed it in the sound. It was just a magic time, man. I don't think you'll ever get that sound again. There's no sequencing. There's no, you know, he's playing that stuff. We're playing that stuff real time, take after take. A lot of times in maybe 2 takes, and we rehearsed it, but we went in there and recorded it old school style, and it sounds, you're never going to get that sound again. Because those are real people working off of each other, not a computer, not a freaking computer. That's the difference. If you compare it to what's being done today, everybody's in a room somewhere by themselves trying to act like the other people, and it you know, you can do some amazing things like that, but it ain't gonna sound like that. So, but Donald was the real deal. He always said he didn't think he was going to live very long. I don't know why he was obsessed with that, but he was obsessed with it. He talked about it all the time. He had a coffin in his house, and he used to scare the kids. Oh, we did some gigs. First gig I ever did with him, he came out of a coffin. We was in Brooklyn, and he rolled a coffin. I said, "What are you doing?" He has a coffin. His cousin worked at the funeral home. His cousin. So he borrowed a coffin. He gets in the coffin. We're in the truck. I don't believe this shit. We're rolling into the gig. Everybody's like, "Oh my God!" Opens up, pull the coffin out. Donald gets out the coffin. We go to the gig. You know what happens? We have a torrential rain. We had to run off the stage. It was an outside thing. We had to run because it was biblical raining. It was unbelievable. So I said, I don't think you should do that anymore. He did it one more time, just before he passed. We did a gig at York College, and he got in the coffin, rolled it in, and he couldn't open it. We're on the gig, we're getting ready to play, getting ready to hit. Couldn't open it. He was going after that about maybe 2 years after that he died.
Oh, wow.
Obsessed with it. Obsessed with it. I don't know
That's definitely like a funkadelic type of thing right there.
Absolutely. He lived it. He lived it all the way, man. He lived it to the end, man. He was an incredible anomaly. Never met nobody like him, and I don't think he ever will again.
I caught on YouTube, you can find that tribute you guys did for him a few years back.
Yeah, so Mondays, Mobile Mondays.
That was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Lenny was there. Lenny came, and Lenny was actually hurting because he was in an accident. His arm was injured, but he played anyway, and his daughter was there, and it was great. It was really heartfelt and great. You know, we didn't have that much time, and then the guitar player who was playing with us in that, Ronnie Drayton, he just passed.
Yeah.
Great guitar player from the neighborhood. He was our rock guy. He was our Jamaican Queens rock guy. He was doing Hendrix and playing acoustic guitar in high school. He was just something else, another one. But he's gone now too.
Now on that Don Blackman record, you were not playing on Yabba Dabba Doo, right?
Yabba Dabba, no, that was keyboard bass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you're on everything else, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so many great ones on that record. And
funny story, man, because originally I was out of town. He had Marcus playing on it, and something about it was at that time Marcus was still trying to find his sound, and it was a little too thin. So, and I didn't find this out till later on. So, Marcus had done a couple of tracks, so I went over them, and did the rest of the album. But I didn't have any say so in that. But yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And Don was such a good composer too.
Oh man, incredible. That song he did, Morning Sunrise, is a ballad that he did, and one day when he was living in the house there, he said, "Barry, come on here." He used to play a Farfisa organ, and he's been playing that song for years before we recorded it. He said, "You got to come listen to this." So he had me come in the room, close my eyes. This guy had Christmas lights all on the ceiling, and inside of the Christmas lights, he had He-Man dinner cartons, like the He-Man. Remember the old He-Man like TV dinners?
Oh, a Hungry Man.
Hungry Man TV dinner.
Yeah,
Hungry Man. So he had the food out, of course, the cartons, and he had it stuck inside of the Christmas lights. And he's got his Farfisa here. So I'm closing my eyes and listening. He goes da 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 da, and it was like, my God, it was surreal. It was like that feeling for that song. He wanted to recreate that on the album, and he did. And that I remember that night. It was just when I heard that song, it was like, wow, that was really, really close to his heart. And I think we captured it on that album because he had been playing that song for a while. He wrote that song a long time ago, and I think we nailed it. We captured it. Mm-hmm. But I miss him every day. You see, I still got his picture here in my house. I think about him all the time. Yeah.
So, getting the timeline right for the viewers and listeners, I think that was like around '82. But you connected with Lenny in the late '70s.
Yeah.
Right. So, how did you get with Lenny?
Well, Lenny's from the neighborhood also. Lenny was, like I said, he was part of that group that was the Jazz Cats that played with the Jazz Cats, the John Coltrane's and the Jazz Cats of the local neighborhood. So he was in between the jazz stuff and the fusion stuff because Lenny went from jazz to fusion. And so my name was in the neighborhood, from various people who knew him. And another keyboard player, genius from the neighborhood named Denzel Miller, is who said, you got to get Barry Johnson. You got to get Sunshine. You got to get Barry. He's the guy to replace Marcus because Marcus was going on with his career and going on and doing stuff. So they had tours to do. So then when I came back, he heard the Nova album. Lenny heard the Nova album and said, oh, yeah, come on. Let's do it. So that's how I got it. They told him about me, and then he heard the records I had just done with Nova, and he said it was a perfect fit for me. So I was honored. I was honored to do it. I didn't know I'd end up singing and being the front man, but it happened that way. It's kind of like me and Donald were doing most of the vocals for Lenny at the time because it was a guy band. It was all guys. It was like we were all guys playing, fusion, funk, and rock. And Nick Morag on guitar, Eddie Martinez on guitar, two great guitar players. And, it was just wild times, man. We just went for it, and we would most of our fans before Peanut Butter were young white guys. We were playing San Francisco. We used to call it our Leighton. I forgot what we called it. It was like, all these guys, we don't play these concerts, all guys. What is this,
Yeah.
So, but after we did Peanut Butter, we started doing more R&B shows, more black shows. We opened up for Prince. We opened up for Prince and Rick James. We did, we did more of that circuit. So that was fun,
Yeah, I have that one here.
Yeah, that was it. That was the first one. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, this, because I was, listening to Astral Pirates and the one that came before that one. Streamline, yeah, I love Streamline. Yeah, well, all those records are great, but this one definitely was a conscious move towards more R&B funk.
Yeah, well, he's trying to get, trying to do something that's more relatable to everyday people. The fusion thing is nice, but, it came to a point where it's not making no money. It's like the jazz cast. Now fusion is like dead. It's like, it's like jazz is almost dead in some places. So, you get kids, you get older, you're going to try to make some money. Let's make a hit record. Let's go for it. So you got a hit record with Peanut Butter, which Donald wrote.
Do you remember what it was like in the studio when you first heard the riff and the Peanut Butter concept, and how did that develop?
It was Donald all the way. It was like, really? Okay, let's do it. When you're feeling hungry, ain't got nothing to eat. Show me to the kitchen, peanut butter, can't be beat. Yeah! It's like, okay, let's do it. Why not? So that was just an extension of Donald, and Lenny was willing to go to the next, next degree and level. He proved that he could play with Chick Corea, played with all the jazz cats. When he was 17, he put up Bitches Fool Miles, so he didn't have to prove that anymore. So let's have some fun. Let's make some music and maybe get, make some money. So that's where we was going. A lot of the critics didn't like it, and the elite jazz guys, oh, how could you sell out and do this? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I hear you, but, we're trying to eat.
Yeah, well, R&B radio was all over it. So how did you guys feel, or how did you personally feel when you were hearing it on the radio and you knew that this was a big hit?
It was great, man. It was surreal, man. It was just like, wow. We're on the radio and people are hearing about it and we're doing this tour, and it was an exciting time. I hated leaving my family that much, because I was at a crucial point where I was raising kids and things like that, but this is what, this is what it was, so I used to leave and go and do it for, it was great, man. It was just a wonderful time, man. It was a wonderful time. It was like the punk thing was happening, the college campuses, the black schools. I mean, it opened up to us more so than the jazz fusion stuff, which was kind of like I said, young white guys screaming, Lenny! Lenny! You kind of sit out there, you can play how many riffs, and, you're trying to, it's like, that's cool, but I like involving people. I like people to be a part of it. I like people to, put your hands up in the air. I love that, and it's not the same with the fusion stuff, it's like, kind of like cerebral, they just listen.
Right. I was always a little surprised that Peanut Butter never got picked up by like Skippy or Jiff or somebody for a huge...
I know. I'm waiting for it to happen. I think it's going to happen because how stuff comes out later on. And it's perfect. It's perfect for that. And good. Thank God his kids had the right to the portfolio. So if it happens, they'll benefit from it. But that's done all the way.
Yeah. That's what I found out later. I wasn't so hip to Don yet at that point.
Yes, I know.
But
because
yeah.
it was always at like 29 and Lenny White, featuring Lenny White, but it really wasn't featuring Lenny White because it was really a group effort. It was his way of having a group effort, but he couldn't let go of the featuring thing. And that was kind of the problem why it broke up. It's like, wait a minute, we're all contributing. Let's just have it, let's just have it 29 and share in some of the, the profits and the publishing and things like that. He couldn't do it. He couldn't let it go. So the band disbanded. We had Larry Dunn from Earth, Wind & Fire producing us. We had the Earth, Wind & Fire horns. We did a ballad where I sang the ballad, a song called Back to You. I did it, and Larry Smith was like, you sound just like Bertie White, man. It's like incredible. It's like we had so much potential. And we had Dee Dee Bridgewater singing background. We had everybody in LA. The whole LA group we had at our disposal. But, Lenny couldn't get rid of, not being in control of everything. So why should we keep, creating this great music and we're not being acknowledged for it,
Right.
It's the same thing with Kenny G. Okay, I sang your song, but nobody knows. Nobody knows it's me. So why would they, why do I keep doing it? They try to give me some stuff after that, but they didn't want to give me any points. They didn't want to pay me. And I was like, that's okay. So I did a couple of tracks for Kenny, but I refused to release it because they didn't want to pay me any points. They was like, I proved to you that my voice is marketable. They know the sound. Now you want to do another one? I'm going to give another one away for free? Come on.
Well, that's one of the reasons I really encourage people to check out that tribute from a few years ago, because that shows you actually singing. It's nice evidence that's more current that really shows you and your abilities, both on bass and singing. So
that's true. And like I said, a lot of people don't put the two things together. Oh, the bass player and the singer. So things like this, I love doing because it's just I don't care about it, but it's nice to get the story straight. It's nice to be acknowledged for what you do, and to go through whole life. I've been places where I've heard my voice on the radio and nobody knows it's me, and I'm looking like, wow, this is really cool. Nobody knows it's me, but it's like I'm enjoying it too. But it's like, hey, yeah.
Well, where'd the Sun John come from?
That came from like Narda and Corrado from the group Nova. They had different names, so the guys from Nova started calling me Sun John. They had their little street Illinois names, Deep, this and that, and so they just called me Sun John.
Well, I'm just thinking going by an alias probably didn't help what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's true. It did help. I did everything I could to not be recognized. Not only that, my brother is an actor, right? He's I don't know if you knew that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's an actor. So we grew up in the house, and my mother she let me play music. I had bands, we rehearsed. She let him do his stand-up comedy act, and we would give plays in the garage and charge a fee, and then I have a band, we play the band. Anyway, he grew up, she supported our dreams because her father never let her do it. So my brother used to always say, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be an actor. I was like, oh, shut up, you from Jamaica Beats. Where you going to act? Where you going to act? Where you fat, you're black, where you going to act?
Who's oldest?
He is. And then he got this movie called Die Hard, and it's like, okay, I got this movie, Die Hard, Bruce Willis. Really? Wow. Okay. So we didn't know it was going to be Die Hard. We knew it was going to be like a smash hit. I don't know, did you ever see that movie?
I love that. He wasn't the cop, was he?
Yes, he was.
That's your brother?
That's my brother.
Wow.
Reginald Bell Johnson.
I just showed that movie. My son is 16. I showed it to him like a year ago for the first time. I said, here it is, the classic. You're going to see it. You're going to experience it.
Everything. It changed everything. And it changed his life. It changed everything. So now, if you can Google him, you say, well, does Reginald Bell Johnson have a brother? Now I'm known as Barry Bell Johnson. Google. Just put it in there. I don't know how to correct Google. I don't know how to correct it, put the real information there, because somebody else does it. I don't know. Do you know anything about that? The stuff that he got me in there is Barry Bell Johnson. Anywho, he went there and did that, and we've always been playing off of each other and supporting each other, and I
Wow,
watched
that's
him.
cool.
I was out touring stuff before him. He was still in the basement, going to auditions. And then he finally got Die Hard. He finally got little bro in Ghostbusters. He was this little movie called Remo Williams. And then he got Family Matters. And then that was it. He got the show Family Matters and with Urkel and his kids. And he was on there for like, they were 14 years. So
Wow.
Good
Good for
show.
him.
So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's well, this show is going to help clarify some of these things for sure.
Yes,
I want to
absolutely.
show up that next one.
Yeah.
So, you had Peanut Butter. You came right back with kid stuff.
Right.
You
I
know?
think Peanut Butter was a bigger hit than Kid Stuff. But, we had done American Bandstand, we did Dinah Shore, we did Mike Douglas, little skits on there and something like that, which is how big the record was at the time. But after we did Kid Stuff, it kind of like fizzled out after that. Everything kind of like changed for whatever reason. Because we were all inputting and making, it wasn't just, a Lady White thing now. It was a group thing. It was 29. We wanted to be under that umbrella. Let's do it. We'll just let all things fly if we just get that straight now. But he couldn't let it go. He just couldn't let it go. So suffice to say, you've not seen him have another hit of that magnitude because it was a group thing. Ego is a terrible thing. It's like,
You were only on those two records, or
say again?
were you? Well, you were also on the next record though too, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're on that
I
one
did
too.
3 hours with them. That's it. That was the last one we did. I was on a beach in California somewhere. Yeah. That's with Jocelyn Smith. Before that, it was Tanya Willoughby, the girl we had. That was Jocelyn Smith. The last album was Jocelyn Smith and Carla Bond, girl from California. Very talented keyboard player, singer. We were going in different directions. It was changing, and I think it was too much to sustain. It was too much for the critics to deal with. And, they put you in a bag, and the music industry, they put you in a bag, and they want you to stay there.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon or consider donating at funkandstuff.net. Thank you very much.